Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about social media and its impacts on Native Americans. So some of my inspiration for this essay was from Vanishing Voices. I remember reading about how some of the societies were impacted by television, and then I sat down and I thought about that for a little bit, and I was like, well, what about social media? Because social media it's actually a really big part of our world. So social media has a bunch of different uses to it. It can range anywhere from business to meeting new people. There are tons of different uses for it. About 2.9 billion people use social media around the world. And some of these uses can be beneficial, and some of them are not so beneficial towards Native American society. So now I'm going to be talking about its impact on Native American society, and then eventually I'm going to start talking about its impact on individuals. So here's a quote from an article that I read. It discusses one of the main drawbacks of social media. I'll give you a little bit of time to read it. Okay, so as you can see, it's basically talking about how social media helps spread stereotypes about different cultures, and some of these stereotypes may not necessarily be the most positive. So a lot of the stereotypes that we see on social media as they compare to Native Americans are that very classic kind of 1800s Native Americans look, and that kind of hinders, as it talks about in the quote, kind of hinders their ability to conform with modern society. And so the impact of this is that it lowers the self-esteem of Native Americans. That actually isn't the end of the issue. This issue is actually extended. As you can see here, this map shows the percentage of the country's population that identifies as Native American. And so there are about 14 states in the United States that have populations of Native Americans that reach over 100,000 people, and also about a quarter of the Native American population lives on reserves. So because of this, it's very rare for these stereotypes to actually be changed in person, and so that can it lowers the chance of correcting the representation, and that even further lowers their self-esteem. Okay. Also, another issue that social media has raised for the Native American society is cyberbullying. So cyberbullying, it's essentially another form of bullying except on social media. And the biggest impact of this is that bullying is now able to be found in multiple different aspects of people's lives, not just in school or in work. It can happen at any time, anywhere. And this, along with the raised amount of domestic violence that Native Americans face, this can lead to significant psychological and emotional issues. So now we're going to talk about its impact on individuals and how that contrasts and compares to its impact on the society as a whole. Okay. So another significant impact that social media has on individuals is suicide rates. So suicide rates for Native Americans is 3.5 times the national average, which is a significant amount. And also it can lead them to have, because of all the negative stereotypes that are created by social media, it can lead them to believe that these are actually true about themselves, and that can lower self-esteem and also raise the chance for committing suicide. Here's some more evidence for how social media has increased suicide rates. So as you can see here, when the word suicide is actually searched in Google, some of the top results that are found are pro-suicide websites, and discussions. Also, there's increased knowledge on how to commit suicide. Those are also some of the top results. And because of this, it increases the probability of people committing suicide rather than thinking about the consequences that suicide can have on not only, well, on society and also people that know you and care for you. However, although these are significant drawbacks to social media, there is hope. An example of this is some movements can gain serious momentum on social media. An example of this is Standing Rock. So Standing Rock, essentially in Dakota, Dakota, they were going to run pipelines through a Native American reserve. And so a lot of Native Americans resisted this, and then that whole movement went on social media. And because of that, it gained serious traction. And then eventually that ended up with the pipelines being run around the reserve rather than through it and disturbing them. It can also change stereotypes by standing up to negative perspectives. You can actually change those stereotypes and inform people on what those stereotypes actually make you feel, which in turn helps raise self-esteem, and it also allows people to become part of communities that they may not have access to because of their locations. So by standing up for yourself and becoming parts of movements that you believe in, especially for the Native American society, you can lower the suicide rate, you can increase people's self-esteem, you can minimize troubles connecting to culture, and you can also remove many other emotional and psychological issues. And this solution can also, if other minorities face similar issues, they can also use this solution. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So, how did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process? Did it go in a different direction than you originally planned?
So, as I discussed earlier, it started off with seeing television and how it related to specific indigenous cultures, but I felt like I wouldn't be able to find as much research on specific indigenous cultures that are on the other side of the world, so I kind of tied that into an issue that we face here in America. And also, when it dealt with television, that's only one part of media. It can be considered a part of social media, but I feel like that's a little bit too specific, so by broadening it to social media as a whole, you can find more movements like Standing Rock, which adds a benefit to social media.
And what additional questions emerged from your research?
I think one that I touched on a little bit there at the end, I really start to wonder, like, how could this affect other minorities, because Native Americans aren't the only minorities that are existent, I guess.